Hey everybody, welcome back to High Energy Relationships in episode 11. We have 2 more episodes to go after this, can you believe it? We're talking about nurturing and growing anabolic relationships, and I was giving you some ideas and ways to grow and nurture your relationships. Another way is partnering for purposes of professional or personal growth, for example, teaching a new skill, sharing and working on developmental goals together. Another way is providing your expertise and or time to solve a problem or give insight to a challenge or opportunity. You could also share your concerns with someone. You could listen to and support each other. You could do something together that you both enjoy and want to be challenged to do. That could be work or personal. Like you could go skydiving. That could be challenging. That could challenge your fear, right? So then you can define the relationship in the future, and you can take the next steps and achieve the future by either working with that person. You can have a coach, whether it be me or somebody else. You can work with an accountability partner. That'd be awesome. Next question. So at the start of this whole segment, where we're listing our key relationships and traits and basically key relationships of people that we want to assess our energy, their energy, and like the increase or decrease where we were back then in part 1. Review that list and decide which relationships you'd like to further develop in that way. And then so my ideas for growing this relationship with Francis is X, Y, or Z. Now, again, you can do this with yourself, with a coach, with me, with an accountability partner, and you can list those things. So now you have a game plan. Now you have a way to create, how do I want to make those high energy relationships with these people? And you can write them down. You don't have to share them with them. You can just do it. Go out there and be anabolic, which is pretty badass. So now we're going to look at changing catabolic relationships. So in terms of catabolic relationships, why do we want to change them? Because again, we want to take that negative energy and take that pain out of our side, like take that finger out of the ribs and do something constructive with our energy so we can have effortless and easy results. So what are your catabolic relationships? Generally, how do these relationships make you feel? So you want to list your catabolic relationships. Question number 1. Number 2, you want to look at how they make you feel. And it's important to note that catabolic relationships can exist within someone that you're no longer in contact with or someone that might have passed away. And it is possible to manage these catabolic relationships even though they may not be around you and even though they might be passed away and you might not ever get to see them in the physical plane again. But this way you can at least release that energy so that you can move on and be productive for yourself. One thing that I'd like you to do in your key relationships is list that key relationship you have here, like all the ones you got from the very beginning of part 1. And then on a scale of 1 to 10, like Francis, I'm a 4 with him. What does that mean? Well, that means I might not want to keep the relationship going because I'm a 4. I don't, know what's in it for me and what's in it for him, which we're getting to. And we'll start to piece together why we would want to keep or leave a relationship. Or if you see Francis's number 1 relationship, I'm a 10. Couldn't get along better with him. Awesome. I want to nurture and grow this relationship. So now in managing catabolic relationships, there's 5 things that you can do, or 5 methods to manage them. The first one is remain a victim to it. Second is change it. The third one is change your perspective of it. Fourth is accept it. And fifth is leave it. Let's look at remaining a victim to it. So remaining a victim includes accepting the feeling of loss, of control, powerlessness, uncontrolled anger, grief, and depression. Remaining in a relationship which decreases your energy can drain you until there's nothing left. So a clue to the catabolic relationships you're willing to stay a victim to exists in the willingness to change chart you've completed above. So like anywhere you're less than a 5, it's probably catabolic. And it doesn't mean it is, but it's more likely that it is because you don't have a very big willingness to change it. It's almost like, oh my God, do I have to deal with Francis? He's a 4. That's bad enough. The fact that he's even on my list, for example. So ask yourself in terms of these next questions, what is blocking your willingness to change your relationships? And again, you might not know the answer to that. And then again, you might be like, well, Francis is always loud and he talks too much and he's annoying. So that's blocking my willingness, him. And then, obviously look internally, how is that affecting your energy? It's decreasing your energy, right? It's catabolic. So what about that are we going to look at next? So if I'm not willing to change at this point in time, my target timeline for reevaluation is, so let's say, all right, Francis is annoying and he's my coworker and I don't need to be around him. So I don't need to do anything yet until I see him again until after, whatever COVID-19 is over, or never again, ever again, but I'm going to release the energy for myself. So when are you going to reevaluate that energy for yourself? Because it might not be right now. Let's move on to second method. Number 2, change the relationship. Recognize that you can take proactive action to change the relationship or some aspect of the relationship so you can remain in the relationship and benefit from it. Question: of the relationships you scored at a 5 or higher on that table I showed you, on the willingness to change scale, which one does it feel appropriate to change? So you may not want to change every relationship. You might want to say, oh, I want to grow and develop out of, whoever's a 6 and a 7. Or I might want to, leave the relationship because they're, not scoring high enough for me to think I'm going to benefit, or they're going to benefit, or we're going to have a win-win. So let's get into 2 other tables. They're both 3 columns. I'm just going to show you them really quickly, and then I'm going to tell you what they are. But remember, each table is 3 columns. In the first table on the left, you're going to talk about your relationship. So you could put Francis, coworker, let's say, and then put your motivations for being in a relationship with me: to get work done and get paid. My motivation for being, at work, for me to get to work and get paid, let's say. So keep it simple. And you can go, and the better you know the person, you can better put your motivation and their motivation in the relationship. In the second table, put your relationship, and then put your values and their values. So what you want to do is you want to look at what similarities are there in both perspectives of motivations on the first one. So you're looking at just motivations, and then what are the similarities in terms of the values, because they may or may not match up. So the question is, how can you tap these similar motivations or values and find common ground for moving forward in the relationship? So just take some time to look at how you can see where there are strengths and gaps for you so that you can make the most out of it, or see, oh, maybe that's why things aren't working so well. Like I might value running around and doing everything at a super fast pace, and you might value taking your time and making sure that the job is done right, even if it means you do it slower than Francis. But so what? You did the job well and you did it right. So changing relationships happens by tapping our anabolic energy, especially levels 4 and level 5. So remember, before we talked about level 4 as being concern and level 5 as being reconciliation. So instead of looking at it as a what's in it for me or what's in it for you, you can look at it as what's in it for us. And I'll give you some scenarios. So what's in it for us scenario, where everybody's included in winning, in level 3, because you could start there where anabolic starts, you could say, all right, I'm going to rationalize conflict to maintain the peace. I'm going to develop mechanisms to release catabolic energy around differences in relationship. I'm going to exhibit forgiveness and be forgiving. Remember, forgiveness is for you so you can release catabolic energy. It's not for them to make them feel better. It's just so you can get out of that energy so you can be productive and constructive. Also in level 3, what's in it for us? You can repair the relationship and you can resolve conflict. What's in it for us on level 4? Some ideas are doing something for the other person they truly value, listening for opportunities where you can fix the wrong, helping the other person, focusing on pleasing, nurturing, and caring for the other person. And then level 5 in win-win or reconciliation, what's in it for us? You can recognize and reconcile the differences in the relationship as a meaningful growth opportunity for both people. You can create opportunities to grow and experience life together. You can remind each other and reconnect with the bigger picture of the relationship, why it is important, and what's the common ground, and how you both can benefit. So by using the what's in it for us, you can map out strategies that can help you take control of catabolic energy. So what relationship do you have? Like, so, okay, my relationship to Francis and my change strategy is I want to use a what's in it for us level 5. I want to create opportunities for growth and win-win. For example, moving on into the 5 methods of handling what we're talking about right now, which is catabolic energy in relationships. Third way is change the relationship by changing the perspective. So I'll give you some examples after a little overview. Rather than changing the relationship with actions and new behaviors, a relationship can also be changed through modifying and shifting how we look at it. Different lenses bring different experiences. So for example, ask yourself the following questions and feel free to pause, rewind, watch this again, share it with your friends, have them watch it again so you can answer all these questions for yourself and get the most value. How can you look at your catabolic relationship with a fresh pair of eyes? Like if Francis is annoying and running around like a crazy man, you could say, all right, that's fine. He's doing his thing winning. I'm over here doing my thing winning. I'm calm. I'm good. That's an example. Or you could run around and be crazy like Francis. It's up to you. Or any number of things within the energy levels that serves you so long as you're being anabolic. Another question, how can you see the other person from a new vantage point? Another question, what qualities do you appreciate and how can you stay connected to your appreciation of these qualities? After that, how can you experience the relationship from a different position? Also, what might the child in you appreciate about the other person? After that, rather than looking at the relationship, how can you feel the relationship emotionally? After that, how is the relationship like your favorite color or food? Hopefully that's a really good one. Another question for you is, how is your partner like your favorite movie star, and what exciting movie could you be co-stars together? So it's almost like role playing. Even though they might not be in it, you might be having the time of your life role playing, and you're just being anabolic, and hopefully it's contagious and they get inspired and start doing more of what you like them doing. Lastly, if you could put on a new pair of sunglasses to look at the relationship differently, what sunglasses would you buy? Like, what would they look like? Who would be the designer? Where would you buy them from? And so for these catabolic relationships where change management strategy seems to be the most appropriate, create your new perspectives below. So in here, you can either come up with this on your own, or you can, again, involve me or your accountability partner or somebody that you trust to talk with about this. So you can come up with strategies to change the energy of past relationships which still hold a catabolic energy for you. Fourth method of working through catabolic energy in relationships is accept the relationship. So what relationships do you want to accept? You might just say, all right, I'm accepting it as it is. It's as it is and it's okay. And it doesn't require anything but me being at peace. So which relationships do you want to accept? And then after this, we're going to go back. We're going to rewind a little bit. So one of the things that I can do is I can help guide you through the process of accepting a relationship and suspending your burdens and conflicts associated with it. Or you could do this on your own and use the following techniques. So we used the centering technique in segment 8, where you center yourself. So you can go back to that and review. And once you centered yourself, you can then call upon your greatest self or your intuitive wisdom and imagine yourself suspending judgment, suspending stress, and suspending the burden associated with each of your catabolic relationships. Now that you are doing that, let's go through a sensorial view of what that looks like. What does it feel like to do that? To suspend your judgment, to suspend stress, to suspend the burden associated with each of your catabolic relationships. What does it look like? What are your actions? What are the sounds? Are you yelling? Are you screaming? Are you speaking calmly? Are you just quietly listening? What does it taste like? So we're using all your senses. You're not going and biting the other person on the arm. You're just saying, all right, well, if this is an experience I'm having, what are the fragrances that are developing? I'm learning through some of the studying that I'm doing is that when you're visualizing results that you want, your sense of smell is the most powerful sense in your sensorial repertoire to allow you to engage at your highest levels of success. Why is that the case? I don't know. Hopefully I'll find out. And when I find out, I'll tell you. I just heard that it's the case. So try and incorporate sight, smell, hearing, taste, touch, so that you can understand your best outcome in those areas, so that you can eliminate your catabolic energy by accepting it. And last is leaving the relationship. So if you don't like the relationship and you cannot or will not remain in it, change the way you look at it, or accept it, then your remaining option is to leave or terminate it. So here's some questions. Which relationships have you decided to remove from your life? Write down as many as you like. Next to each relationship, indicate your level of readiness to leave the relationship in percentages. Like, I'm 100% ready, saying you're sure about it. 0% says you're not sure, because you don't have to be sure. You could say, I don't want to deal with this anymore. This person's annoying, but I'm not really 100% sure I'm ready to leave, because there's 4 other things you can learn to do to get rid of that catabolic energy. Or you could just do this part and leave it. Another question is, what is your plan to transition those that you're 100% ready to move away from your life? So what plan do you have for that? And again, you can feel free. Everything's confidential. If you decide, hey, you know what, I have this coworker, or hey, Susie's da-da-da-da, much better to do that in the context of either a coaching contract or a complimentary consultation, because then you can speak about what you want to speak about and you can get all your questions answered with no problems or no hassles. And it's all confidential, which is true of anything you send me, except if you put things in the comments, people can see that. If you DM me, it's confidential. All right, so another question is, if you are less than 100% ready, work with me or your accountability partner or alone and write your action plan on what you're going to do to be ready to leave the relationship. So we're going to finish up really quickly. We're going to talk about team building, and then we're going to have another little table, and then we're going to move on. But I'm going to talk about working with me really quickly, and then we're going to finish this up in part 3. So like I said, you can comment, you can DM, you can get on my calendar, which is in my bio. and realize that there's no obligation. It's a complimentary consultation, and you will get action-oriented things to do that you assign yourself, so you'll be ready for next week. I'll see you in part 3.